Okay. Alright, so we're in a game called Minecraft here. And actually Minecraft can be somewhat helpful for making patterns. So I'm going to build a pattern. Got 2 blocks, and I'm going to fly up. We're going to kind of look down at it, okay? So, there's a pattern. That's what it starts with. How many blocks did we have there?
2.
2. And then, my next step in the pattern, I added how many blocks?
3.
3. Good. So think step 1, step 2. You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to go back and kind of record what we were doing here. So we had block 1, block 2. That was the first value, right?
Mm-hmm.
The second value, we started with those 2 blocks, but I added... Actually, you know what I'll do? I'm not so great at drawing, apparently. I just discovered that. The black ones we'll say are the same ones from the number before, and the red ones will be the new ones, okay? So, let's switch back over to Minecraft here. Is it going to do that every time? It is. Oh well. So now, I'm going to add... That is wrong. Smash that. Smash that, please. How many blocks did I add there?
4.
Let's go back and check.
Oh, 2. Oh, 3.
That was the pattern before, right? We had a cross. We did uno, dos.
I didn't know to see.
That's okay. It's hard to see the blocks sometimes, right? So I added 3. Wonderful. So we'll go back to our pattern again. Step number 3. We had originally, from step 2, this is what we had. I'm going to have to space these out a little more, I've just discovered. And we added 1, 2, 3. So, I'm going to get you to infer now. Here's number 4. This is what we had from number 4. What do you think I'm going to do on this pattern, Tad?
1 at the top.
Did I do any at the top in the other ones?
No.
No, where was I adding them to?
1, 2, 3.
Ah, yeah, so the left side, the right side, and the bottom. So let's go back to our game here. It's going to load for us, and we'll take a look at it. And you know what I could have done would have made more sense. Zoom out a little. 1, 2, 3. I could have changed the block colors every time. That would have been, go back. There, okay? So actually, I'm going to do that. So if you remember, block 1, we started with, we'll call them the stone bricks. So there were just 2 to start, right? And then I added, let's say we added these green bricks. That was the first one. So pattern 2 had gray and blue to it. I'm going to need some more colors here.
Isn't that the second one?
Yeah, that was the second one. And then for the third value, yeah, we put the yellow ones in, right? So we added 3. And then for the fourth one, we added the brick. So you can see by the colors, I'm adding 3 every time. I started with only 2. The gray, there was only 2 of them. And then green, we went 1, 2, 3. And then yellow, 1, 2, 3. And then bricks, 1, 2, 3. So this pattern is starting with what? How would you describe this pattern if I asked you to write it all out?
Start with 2 and add 2 each time.
Great. So we start. This is too thick of a pencil. There you go. With 2. And then you're going to say add 3 each time. Perfect. That is an excellent rule. What's neat about patterns, when we get them like this, is we can represent them in tables. Okay? So, let's say I'm going to build a table. Okay? Tables usually look like this. They have like a line down the middle, and they separate columns, they'll call them. So there's like column 1, column 2, and then there's also rows to a table. I'm going to call this the... we usually call this the term.
3. Oh, yeah.
Term number? Yes.
2.
And then in the other column, we'll say number of, in this case, it was blocks. Okay? The term number, when I say term number, that's talking about like the steps in the pattern. So the very first term number was 1. How many blocks were in the pattern? Term number 2, how many blocks? Term number 3, how many blocks? Term number 4, how many blocks? Does that idea make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to write down 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? In term number 1, how many blocks were there? Do you remember?
2.
2, yeah. And then term number 2, how many?
4.
Was it 4?
Turn number 2.
Let's go back and take a look.
4.
This is hard to calculate, but let's take a look at this. If we count them, we have 1 gray. Whoops. Oh, I'm not so good with the pencil. There you go. How many grays do we have?
2.
2. And how many greens? 3. Together, how many is that?
4.
2 and 3?
Oh, sorry, 5.
5. Ah, okay. So that's going to be important here. So we go 5.
But
Remember,
what?
we add 3 every time.
oh yeah, 5. Oh my god.
Yes. So, without having to go back and look, if I tell you we add 3 each time, how many blocks should be in term 3?
5 plus 3 is 8.
That's right. Okay. And then without going back again, how many blocks should there be in term 4?
11.
Very good. Okay, and we can go back and check to make sure that's right, but I'm going to tell you you're doing it perfect. So this is great. We've built our pattern, okay? We've represented it with a visual, which is really important. These are our visuals, or Minecraft is our visual. We've verbally, so we've written like a sentence, not a very, it's not a wonderful sentence, it's not very grammatically correct, and we made a table. So this is great. So now if I pose the question, I'm going to pose 2 questions. How many blocks in term 8? Okay. How many blocks in term 8? This is harder.
For
We can,
term 8?
yeah. How would you like to solve this? What would you like to do? Would you like to draw with the visuals? Do you want to keep going with the visuals?
No.
Do you want to do through the table?
And sure.
Okay, so let's
I was gonna
increase
do
our
it the other
terms.
way, but
What's the other way?
I was gonna do 4 times 3,
Mm-hmm.
and then the answer,
Why 4 times 3?
because you add 3 each time.
Okay, so you're going to do 4 times 3.
Yeah, 4 times 3, which equals 12, and then 12 times 4, and then you would have your answer.
Okay, so let's test that. So that's for number 8?
Yeah.
Okay, why did you do 12 times 4?
12 because if you add 4 plus 4 is 8, and then you get term 8.
Okay, so remember the term doesn't actually, well, we can make an equation to make it relate, and maybe we should do that actually. Let's go through it as the table, and then I'll build an equation and show you, because what you're trying to do is build an equation in your mind, which is great, but we haven't talked about that yet, so I think we just had a couple errors, that's all. So let's continue our term values. We go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What you were trying to do is a much faster way, but it can be confusing if we don't start with the right formula. So here we just gotta kind of add our way through. So if we go 11 plus 3, what do we end up at?
14.
Yeah, and then another 3.
16. No, 17.
Yeah, and another 3.
19. No. Another.
Yeah.
Oh,
17
is
plus 3.
20.
Yeah, and then 20 plus 3.
23.
Great. So we got 23. So your answer is actually 23 in this one. And I think you got up to almost 48 with your other one, right? So we're just jumping by 3 each time. This is great. Let's say I want to make an equation. It's really important, actually, this first value here. You said we start with 2. So we're going to say, we're going to represent the B for number of blocks is equal to, how many did we start with?
It's 2.
2. So we start with 2. And then we're going to add, how many do we add for each term number?
3.
3. So we end up with 3. The only thing is we have to technically subtract by 1. This is the confusing part about building a formula. If you build this formula, what you're supposed to do is actually go back to term 0. So if we were at term 0, how many blocks would we have? Oh, we got a new method. So let's say we did the other way here, Thomas. If we have 2, and we're going back 1. So remember, if I was to go from 14 to 11, what operation am I using?
14
To 11. If I go this way instead, subtracting by 3. So if I go from term 1 to term 0, I go from 2, and I'm going to subtract by 3. What value am I going to have?
What?
If I have 2,
Yeah.
and I subtract 3, what value would I have?
Minus 1.
Yeah, that's right. So minus 1 is actually a term number we write in, and then we say 3 times let's say n, or no, t for our term number. So our equation is number of blocks is equal to -1 plus 3t. This part's really difficult, not really a grade 6 thing. We kind of end up doing that in grade 7 and 8 or whatever. But if you wanted to do your mental math, ready? Remember we said term number 8? I can replace t with the number 8. So we would get number of blocks is equal to -1 plus 3. What's 3 times 8?
24.
Yeah. -1 plus 24.
-1 plus 24 is 23.
Yeah. And what did we get as an answer when we went through these? When we went through our table?
23.
Yeah. Okay. This one's a hard way to do it. Yeah. But
You
that's
do
great.
8 times 3.
Yeah.
I just noticed that.
8 times 3
yeah.
would have got you to 24. And that's what we did.
And then
Yeah. See, we did 8 times 3, and then we just subtracted the 1. That's all. Okay. Great. We did lots in that question there.